focused on today is how to add eyes to a creature. So the first thing we have to do is we need to create the sockets. The eyes tend to sit in an area that we call the eye socket, and this area tends to be indented. So when I went to start working on the eyes of my sculpture, I went back in and I used the Alt key with the brush tool to make indentations where I wanted the eye socket to be. It is okay to make other edits as you are working. So here I decided to drag the side of the face outward to create horns. Now that we've created the sockets for the eyes, it's time to add the eyes. And there are multiple ways that you could create the eyes for this. One of the things that you can do is go up to this top menu, Scene, and we can add a sphere. Okay, now it drops the sphere in the center here, and in order to move it, we have to go over to our tools and select the transform, and then it shows us this series of circles. Okay, we can click on the squares here, and that allows us to move the circle on its axis. Okay, so then I can hold the Alt key and click in the gray to move over to see this sphere, so I can focus on it. If I click on the outside edge of the circle, let me do that again. If I click on like this orange ring here and drag it inward, you'll notice I'm decreasing the size of the circle, okay, or the sphere. So this will help it be a size that might fit within the eye there. Okay, now again, this takes some trial and error to figure out the excuse me, to figure out the best way to move it. So like right here, I'm clicking on the green square and it's helping me to move it over. But if I look, it's too low. I need to move it up. So for this, I actually find it helpful to kind of turn and adjust my camera view, so that way I can see better where it's at. And then again, I have to kind of look, so it's not far enough over, so I have to kind of move it over so it looks like I'm getting closer to the eye placement here. So now I can kind of look back down. Okay, now looking at this, again, the eye is a little bit too big, so again, I can click on the orange and pull this down a little bit more. And then again, I can look back here from the upper view. So based on like the blue, I feel like stretches it. So this would be a really silly eye. So I can always do Control Z. So I feel like the green and the red kind of stretches it the other way. So it looks like the green squares tend to be the ones that are helping me move the eye the best. So that's just something to keep in mind. And it also helps quite a bit, again, to move your camera. So that way you can kind of see, like right now, the eye's actually floating out in front of it. So I need to get it back into the head. So, whoops. I've clicked on the overview here. So now I can kind of get a look here. That's starting to look better. Actually, that looks pretty good. I would like it to be just a little bit further back in the head. So again, I can look at it from a different angle, and that kind of helps me get it in place. So when I want to go back to editing my head sculpt, I can click on the sculpture itself and it'll switch me back here. Okay, so one of the things that I discovered as I was going along is that it is helpful to paint your eye before you make a copy of it. So we are going to take a moment and do some painting. Now, one of the things that I discovered is that you actually have to change your rendering. So if you go up to the top menu here, the rendering, you have to click on the arrow. And then when you go to skin, map cap, you're going to switch it from skin hazardous to either pearl or to white. There is no white when you go to paint. If you try to use the color white, it will just reveal the color of the clay. So it's up to you which you would prefer. I'm going to try working with this pearl. I kind of like the source of like the light here. So when I do this, I'm going to add like the black pupil to the eye. So I can either kind of turn it so I can see my view from here, or I can work from the front. If I want to work from the front, I can press the space bar. When I select the paint tool, I can come down here to the color, and I want to make sure I'm selecting like a black color. I can also work with the size of my radius. I wouldn't make it too big, but a decent color that you can work with. I'm going to turn off symmetry because I'm working with one eye here, okay, instead of both eyes at once. So I'm going to go ahead and do some painting. So you can explore Now make sure, again, before I start painting, make sure you have the eyes selected. If you have your form selected, it would be in color and the eyes would be black. So this is why it's important to kind of make sure you have the right object selected. And then again, you can do some painting. So I can kind of start painting here, and I can leave a little sliver of it showing if I want to have that showing forward, so I can kind of look at it. If I don't like what it looks like, maybe I'm going to work now from the side. So to me it looked kind of funny. Whoops, so here I clicked on the wrong object, so notice how it switched. So now I need to click on the eye here. And if I wanted to, I could even pick like a different color. So maybe I want to do some like yellow highlighting within here. And then maybe I want to go back to black in the center. Okay, so now when I look at it, I could see what I think about that, if that's something that I like. And if I wanted to add maybe a little bit of a highlight, again, if I click and go up to this upper corner here, this is where it'll take me back to that original color. So if I wanted to add kind of that highlight there, so I'm liking the way this looks, I might just touch up that black just a little bit on the side here. So now it's time for me to take and make a copy of this. So if I go up to scene here and I do a copy selection, it has now made a copy of that, and I need to switch back. So I'm going to minimize my rendering here. I'm going to go to transform. So now I can see this here, and if I can find my green, I feel like the green helped me move it the best. So if I find my green, now I can take and find the eye here. Okay, so I've got my eye, but I need to rotate it. So this would be where I kind of work with some of these different circles. So if I click on the green circle here, I can rotate my eye. I can also see it sticking out a little bit more, so I can work with my green square. By clicking the green square, I can move it in and out and kind of figure out what might be the best placement. Again, if I press my spacebar, it takes me to the front, so I can see here it's not quite in the right spot. So I can kind of go back and forth and see what I think about it. And then if I want to see the overall look, I can click on this regular sculpt and see. I can always come back in and do a little bit more moving, but at least this way now my eyes kind of match. Okay, so another way that you could add eyes to your creature is by using like the brush tool or the inflate tool. So if I take the brush tool here, I want to fix my radius so that it's maybe a little bit smaller, kind of thinking about more of what size I would like for the eyes. Again, I can just press and start to build up the eye shape within there. So if it's hard for you to create like a separate sphere, or you don't like the look of it when we paint it and we take our screenshot, it's going to have a slightly different look or color to it because it's a separate object. So you could just take and brush it. Another thing I could do is use the crease tool and just come back in and really crease where that clay was added. To help that feel more like a separate piece of clay for the eye. Now it's having some issues right here, so what I could do again is take my smooth tool. Again, I can make it a little bit smaller, I can turn my intensity down a little bit, and I can work on just kind of refining a little bit, or I could take my brush tool and hold the Alt key, and I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller. Okay, so I can hold the Alt key and use it to kind of remove clay here. Or I could also use inflate here. So I could do a little bit of inflating and kind of build up that upper eye ridge a little bit here. It creates that contrast that I was looking for. So that kind of gives me that eye shape that then I could go in and paint. Okay. And if I wanted to, I could also use the inflate and just use that to kind of smooth out the eyes a little bit.